the pitch-black night of August 8, 1963, a Royal Mail train was tearing through the darkness from Glasgow to London. Hidden inside was a staggering fortune, packing sacks of cash equivalent to roughly £67 million today. Suddenly, driver Jack Mills spotted a glowing red signal at an upcoming crossing. This was a massive red flag. An express train stopping at that specific location made absolutely no sense. Reacting to the strange warning, Mills slammed on the brakes, bringing the massive locomotive to a halt in the middle of nowhere. An eerie silence briefly settled over the tracks, but hiding just out of sight was a ruthless crew ready to execute the heist of the century without a single clue being dropped. What happened next on those isolated tracks feels like the plot of a Hollywood blockbuster. But the truth is, a crew of real-life criminals managed to hijack a government train and steal millions of pounds without firing a single bullet. To understand this, we have to rewind a few months to when London's most notorious underworld figures sat down to mastermind an unbelievable operation. The real question is, how did a gang with zero experience in train robbery manage to pull off such a highly coordinated strike? Let's break this down. The answer lies in a combination of highly classified inside information, perfect timing, and a shocking level of audacity. This is where things get interesting, because the sheer scale of the operation required unbelievable precision to target one specific, vulnerable carriage among many. The foundation for this unprecedented heist was laid months in advance, when mastermind Bruce Reynolds gathered his crew to design an impossible robbery. His ace in the hole was highly classified intelligence regarding Britain's national postal service, the Royal Mail. This secret information came directly from a senior security officer within the organization itself, a shadowy insider whose true identity remained a complete mystery to everyone. The informant revealed that the Glasgow to London train contained a specific high-value packages, or HVP, carriage that occasionally transported massive amounts of cash. However, Reynolds and his associates lacked any actual experience taking down a moving locomotive, so they recruited another notorious syndicate known as the South Coast Raiders to bring their expertise to the table. The operation quickly snowballed, expanding into a formidable team of over 15 men who spent months meticulously planning how to pull off this massive score without using firearms. The target train departed from Glasgow Central Station at 6:50 p.m. on August 7, 1963, scheduled to arrive at London's Euston Station by 4 a.m. It dragged 12 carriages filled with 72 post office workers who sorted mail continuously while on the move. This train dropped off and picked up parcels without ever stopping, using an intricate system of elevated racks and nets. The HVP carriage, packed with money order cash, was initially parked safely at the Nen Valley railway station, waiting to be attached. Interestingly, while security alarms had been installed in some carriages by 1961, those specific secure cars were out of service on the day of the heist. Thanks to their insider, the gang knew that an older reserve carriage, M324M, which had absolutely no security system, was being used instead. When the train reached Nen Valley, staff connected this unprotected carriage directly behind the engine. Adding fuel to the fire, because the previous weekend was a bank holiday, this carriage was loaded with nearly £3 million, instead of its usual 300,000. For the robbers waiting in the dark, this 12-fold increase wasn't a lucky break, but the exact moment they had been plotting for. Unaware of the danger, the locomotive rolled out into the night. Driven by 58-year-old Jack Mills, the train pushed forward toward its destination, while a heavily armed crew lurked in the bushes near the tracks. Their trap was sprung at around 3 a.m. on August 8 at Sears Crossing, where a gang member tampered with the railway signals, covering the green light with a glove and using a portable battery to illuminate the red light. When the train approached the crossing, Mills was caught totally off guard by the red signal, as Royal Mail Expresses were practically never ordered to halt at this specific location. Assuming a legitimate emergency, Mills hit the brakes and brought the massive engine to a standstill exactly at the signal. In the sudden, eerie quiet, the train's assistant driver, known as the second man, climbed down to use the trackside telephone to contact the signalman. He quickly discovered the line had been sliced clean through, a deliberate move baked right into the gang's master plan. Before he could even turn back toward the engine, robbers burst from the brush and completely overpowered him. Simultaneously, other crew members swarmed up both sides of the main engine to secure the cabin. When Jack Mills bravely tried to fight back, one of the attackers struck him brutally over the head with an iron rod, leaving the veteran driver unconscious in his seat. While this chaos unfolded up front, the rest of the gang executed the next phase flawlessly by uncoupling the engine and the first two carriages from the remainder of the train. Their overarching plan was to move this hijacked section to Bridego Bridge, roughly 1 kilometer away, where their getaway truck was waiting. They had even brought along a retired railway driver specifically to operate the locomotive, but things immediately went south. The backup driver took one look at the modern controls of the engine and completely panicked, having absolutely no idea how to operate the newer machinery. Left with no other options, the ruthless crew revived the bleeding Jack Mills and forced him under extreme duress to drive the train that final kilometer. The engine and 2 carriages slowly rolled away to the bridge, leaving the remaining carriages stranded on the tracks. The postal staff isolated in those rear cars had absolutely no clue why the train had originally stopped or that the front section had vanished into the night. Upon arriving at Bridego Bridge, the crew wasted no time smashing their way into the HVP carriage, brutally assaulting the 5 staff members inside before tying them up and throwing them face down on the floor. Inside the car sat 128 sacks stuffed to the brim with £1, £5, and 10-shilling notes. The sheer volume of this stolen cash was mind-blowing, weighing right around 2.5 tons. Down on the road below the bridge, a truck idled in the dark, ready for the massive haul. Working against the clock with only 15 minutes to spare according to their strict timeline, the robbers formed a human chain and frantically loaded 120 of the heavy sacks into their vehicle. They were forced to leave the remaining 8 bags behind, simply because they ran out of time. The heist had gone off almost flawlessly, but right before fleeing, one of the thieves made a massive, arrogant blunder that would soon seal their fate. He aggressively warned the tied-up postal workers not to move an inch for exactly 30 minutes, threatening to kill them if they disobeyed. The gang peeled out in an Austin Lodestar truck loaded with the cash, accompanied by 2 Land Rovers sporting identical fake license plates reading BMG 7578 to confuse any potential witnesses. After a tense 45-minute drive, they arrived safely at roughly 4 a.m. at their hideout near the village of Oakley, about 43 kilometers from the crime scene. Monitoring police chatter via VHF radio, the crew felt invincible, knowing the authorities were just discovering the robbery. They partied hard at the hideout, even busting out a game of Monopoly and playing it using the actual stolen money. However, those good vibes died fast. The radio soon broadcasted that the police were hunting them within a tight 50-kilometer radius. The cops had smartly calculated this exact search zone solely based on the specific 30-minute warning the robbers foolishly gave the train staff. Realizing the authorities were closing in hot, the gang panicked and frantically bumped up their escape timeline, shifting their planned Sunday departure up to Friday. Feeling the heat, the crew scrambled on Thursday to divide the staggering £2.5 million they had stolen. According to reports, each core member bagged around £150,000, an absolute fortune in that era that equals roughly £3.9 million in today's money. The remaining cash was tossed to the minor helpers who played smaller roles in the massive operation. Before skipping town, before Friday, the gang frantically wiped down the entire hideout to erase their fingerprints and paid off a guy to burn the property to the ground so the police would find absolutely zero evidence. But the hired arsonist completely ghosted them. He pocketed his cut of the cash and bailed without ever lighting the match. Meanwhile, the police were aggressively scouring the entire Buckinghamshire area. Helicopters buzzed over the city. Patrol cars flooded the streets, and the national media whipped the public into an absolute frenzy. To speed things up, authorities announced a £10,000 reward for any solid information. This cash bounty prompted a neighbor to step forward, reporting suspicious activity and a whole lot of commotion at a nearby property on the morning of August 8. Acting on this crucial tip, the police swiftly raided the location. It was Leatherslade Farm, a property the robbers had rented 3 months prior. Inside, investigators struck gold, uncovering empty mailbags, discarded wrappers, and a truck hastily painted yellow. While the robbers thought they had wiped the place clean, they missed one crucial detail. They left clear fingerprints all over the Monopoly board they had played with using the real cash. Since most of the crew had prior criminal records, Scotland Yard quickly matched the prints and identified the real culprits, securing a massive breakthrough. Within days, 14 of the 16 men were arrested. Only 2 ghosts slipped away entirely: the panicked replacement driver and the corrupt Royal Mail security officer who provided the initial tip. To this day, the true identity of that insider remains totally unknown. The court dubbed this the robbery of the century, slamming the gang with grueling 30-year prison sentences. Following the chaos, Bridego Bridge was informally renamed Train Robbers Bridge, a title it holds today. Tragically, the 58-year-old driver Jack Mills never fully recovered from his severe head injury, never worked again, and passed away just 7 years later from the lingering trauma. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. See you in the next video.